Not yet,
I don't see that TV on.
okay.
Okay, very good. Planning board meeting is now open. June 6, 2013. We have a minor modification for Lincoln Woods, and that is not in our packet, so they are going to table it. And then we have Form A, King Street, Locust Street.
Do we have to continue this or anything, or is it was
Minor modification, it's nothing
Not a
that,
public hearing.
not a public
No.
hearing?
we have a Form A, King Street and Locust Street, and that's tabled. We have a Form A for Elm Street East. Anybody here for Elm Street East?
Just for the record, Frank's my brother.
Sort of look alike.
I'm much better looking than him, but I'm gonna abstain and step out of this one.
Actually, we're going to say something right to the opposite.
Okay, so please state your name for the record.
This is,
He is my favorite.
Oh, that's his LLC.
Engineering.
this is the.
I have a Form A plan here.
All right, we'll
Um,
let Mr. Burke read all that technical stuff, and we'll look at the plan while you,
Zero.
Okay.
Oh, the old Whittle piece.
There it is, it's in my house somewhere, I know that.
The NLC is paid. Oh, the next one?
It's down the street a little bit, it's on the same side.
okay, so just give us a quick reference of where we are.
Okay.
So,
I'm showing two properties here, 327 and 345 Elm Street East.
And they both have houses on them?
Yes, they do.
And
You're,
who lives in one, who lives in the other?
No one lives in 327. Mr. Paul Witherell used to live there. He's passed on. Peter Witherell, his son, lives at 345. And 327 is for sale. In fact, Mr. Peter Witherell has, I guess, a tentative agreement to sell that property. And the reason I'm putting this plan before you is because if you look at 320, if you look at both lots, they're very long and narrow lots. The prospective buyer for 327 essentially wants, a conforming lot without all the back land. So I've done a plan that divides the property at 327 into one lot that contains the house and then a rear parcel that's not a buildable parcel, but it would be.
So where's it going to?
It's going to go to the owner at 345, Peter Witherell.
Oh, I see.
There's
To
a
be
note
com-
on the plan.
To be
that
combined with map 2A, lot 44-1.
Yeah.
Does this go, how far back does it go, to 495?
Oh, no. It goes back, about 1,000 feet from
Quite a ways.
from Elm Street East, but not to 495. There's another pretty sizable piece of property behind this.
Cool.
This is all Hickory Drive.
Emerson Coburn, last name Emerson/Coburn.
Is that the Emerson next to me?
Yes. Yeah, it's the abutter to the rear of your parcel as well.
so what's your dotted line that's on? I don't see any,
That's
Building
the
setback.
zoning setback line.
so are you touching it, or are you a little off?
It's inside. They're both just slightly inside of that
So what's the
setback.
determination here?
Get rid of
Oh, okay.
Burke, do you have any questions on the papers, or?
It's just making a strange noise.
Well, who do we need to have sign this? Because I'm looking at a deed where you have several people holding as tenants in common.
For the owners of the owners of 345,
Yeah,
the ones that are
Peter,
gonna be signing.
Peter's listed as one of them, and he tells me that he has the authorization to sign for that trust.
Is it a trust, Burke? What are you looking at?
Well, I'm looking at a grantee clause that says he grants to Peter, Robert, David, Martha, to hold as tenants in common an undivided 4/5 interest, and that he is retaining, he being Paul Witherell, is keeping a 1/5 interest.
So the map's from Paul?
Well,
Before he died, obviously.
I don't know what happened to his other 1/5 interest.
Didn't he retain a fifth?
He retained a 5th, but I don't know if he did something with it before his death or if it went into his estate.
And is that referencing, is he deeding out the 345? Is that what he's deeding out in that deed?
Well, I'm presuming.
No.
345 is where that's where his son is living.
Right.
He was on 327.
327.
Yeah, but Paul, the deed's from Paul, so he's,
327 that he'd be deeding out, but
no, I thought you deeded out
From
345.
here to here.
well, if there's multiple names on that, we would probably need a copy of the power of attorney, because they would have to give him power of attorney to sign as one signature.
Well, who signed the application?
Peter as trustee. I don't have anything here showing any trust. And what I do have showing is I need 5 people signing
The
the application. I mean, I'm sure there's an answer to it. The Witherells they're not trying to put anything over on anybody, but
It's just that we can't take someone's land and subdivide it without their permission.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing here. And maybe the other people don't want to do that.
Well,
So, one, there's no trust going to Burke. And 2, we need all those other people to sign it if there is no trust.
So the easy, I guess,
Is to withdraw this.
explanation is gonna be just have a trust, present a trust along with the plan, and they're appointing him as trustee.
Unless you
And then
sign
he
it,
has-
hold it in abeyance till. it
And then
gets
he has the right
No,
to
no,
sign
we
as
can't
trustee.
act on it.
yeah.
Has to be withdrawn.
Well, he's out of town. He told me that he was, the person who was authorized to sign. And so that's what I went with. So,
should never trust your client.
Chris, you made
The assessor's records show Paul and Peter individually, again, no trust mentioned.
Do they show all the other people?
No.
What's that MLC for? The whole parcel?
It's for 327.
yeah, because if we approve it to hold it, then we're gonna have to, if for some reason it's not, then we're gonna have to have it withdrawn, and we're gonna
Yeah,
have
I
to-
think you're best just to withdraw it.
Yeah, I think you need to withdraw it.
And we'll give you back your check and stuff.
okay. All right.
And then if you get, you can come in.
If he is trustee, we need a deed from the people who are on this deed into this trust, and I guess at this point, we'd like to see the trust.
All right, it's probably a power of attorney, because that's all the current documents as far as deeds and stuff. It's probably that he has the power of attorney.
Power of attorney from a deceased person isn't worth much.
Really? Okay,
Power of attorney.
Well, he might be the executor.
yeah,
That's probably what he is. If he's signed it, he's probably the executor.
okay.
If it was a,
And again, if he's the
Probate.
executor, we just
Yeah.
need something from all the other trustees of the, if it is a trust.
Okay. Just one thing, as far as signing it and holding it and waiting for that proof. I ask only because he's telling me that he has a closing that's basically pretty imminent here, and this is the only thing that's gonna stall it, so
the other option would be not sign it, hold it here, we're all in town. If you get the stuff to Burke and he's happy, we'll run by the office and people could sign it. If you, because I don't think you said you don't want to sign it, right?
Well, no, because if something doesn't,
Just a
if
thought.
something's, comes up and you've got one person out of state, but none of the family members have been talking to them for years, then
Yeah.
it can be a mess, and then we're at their mercy to withdraw our plan that we've already signed.
Yeah, so,
Okay, well, whatever, I guess, the board's, whatever the board's decision is, that's fine. I just assumed the filing and,
Well, the Form A,
Coming back.
as a Form A, I don't think, nobody has a problem with the plan as it sits.
Yeah, I don't see any problem. with the
Henry?
plan, so.
Filing the town clerk.
No.
As a Form A. So as a Form A, that part of it, I think, is,
It's just a legal issue
Right.
that's,
the ownership.
it's the ownership of the property
Yeah.
and just giving some proof that the ownership of the property, or the person signing was granted the right to do that.
Okay.
Of course, he won't get very far with his closing unless he has the right person selling it too, so.
Yeah, so we don't really
Right.
think that closing's going anywhere.
So if you do withdraw, you can, instead of us holding it for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
we would rather have you withdraw it and then just resubmit it with that information.
Okay.
And what I would ask Maureen, if this does get resubmitted, just to get that information over to Brooke, so if there is a problem with the information they give you, the paperwork they give you, we can notify you ahead of time, so in 2 weeks from now, we're not in the same,
Sure, okay,
you know what I'm saying?
all right,
Sorry about that, but
thank you.
is that all you have for tonight?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Lot 10, Forge River Park, site plan, public hearing. Chris, you have something that, was this already?
I was-
Was this continued?
when we continued it saying, well, let's get a thing from Dennis first instead of wasting time reviewing a plan that may be a waste, may not be not be a buildable lot.
So this must have came in when I was
Yeah.
out the last time.
What it
Okay, so-
was, have you seen the plan?
No, I haven't.
What it is it's a lot on Forge River Parkway. And what it is the edge of pavement ends here. The layout continues, that would have gone over the
You can,
brook.
you wanna just put that easel right up in, almost, yeah, put it right in front of the podium.
And the issue was
You can stand up in front of us when you're talking.
the lot, once you see it there, the lot itself has woods as frontage. The road was never built there. So it stopped, and the question was,
Does it have frontage?
I guess it was released on a Form J release, and we thought the road was taken, but it was never actually accepted. And
Well, that's to be moved.
so is it illusional frontage, but I was hoping Dennis would have, I saw Dennis, and he told me, when he saw the plan, he didn't
Subject to a deed, which we don't.
think that it, the
Well, I'm
So the
gonna,
road is voted on subject to a deed that we're not sure we ever received. So maybe
so that's,
Mr. Turner can update us.
Burke, do you,
so they did vote on it.
Yes.
You don't
I
actually.
turn this over to you, and you,
That's what the article says.
was this something that
Subject to
was
conveyance.
Oh,
very brief when it came in last time, and you were
Oh, yeah,
just more
you
looking for
didn't- you
information?
Show you.
didn't miss a lot. I mean, we looked at the plan and sent Mr. Turner out to get some more information, really.
Now, did the planning board receive any information from the applicant showing that, the approval of that road? And maybe you can answer that before you do. Can you state your name for the record?
Yeah, George Turner. So this subdivision, a couple of members I'm sure are familiar with, goes back to the 80s and then subsequent,
He's gonna give you, excuse me, he's gonna give you a laser pointer, just for the people that are home watching, and
okay.
you'd be surprised, an awful lot of people like watching us five up here every other Thursday.
Just press the little button there.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, the subdivision road access is currently here. The pavement ends here. The original Forge River Park business development was established sometime in the 80s by a Margaret Kirker and Kirker Forge Realty Trust.
Remember the?
Oh, yeah.
And it went bankrupt or a failed subdivision. It was foreclosed by the bank. a letter of credit was put up to secure that the roads were completed, which the town ended up having a lawsuit to secure the funds to finish the roadway. And in the judgment, which I have a copy of, which I brought tonight for everybody to, which dates back to '96, I think I have enough copies there, you know. I have more copies.
Let's get through it.
The town settled with the lawsuit. The most important part, the rest is a bunch of, just history and whatnot in the beginning, but on paragraph 5,
Before you get onto that, the question I have for you is, it was voted to accept as a town way the roadways known as Forge River Parkway and Bellow Road as shown on a recorded plan of land entitled Old Forge River. So, this is showing the road, and where does the road stop?
the pavement stops here, but the road actually continues, the right-of-way continues across the river and into the commercial street on the other side of the river.
Cul-de-sac and cul-de-sac.
What it did, Dan, was, there's a brook there, and the original design plan had it going over the brook and had a culvert, and, the Rivers Act, everything else. From the brook on, that was bought by Dick Madigan, who owned
Right.
Commercial Street, where, like Monroe Electric is straight back behind there, so he bought that remaining
He owns
piece.
from here, from this line back.
Does he still own it?
Yeah, well, it's in a trust, I think it's it's even alive still.
2244 Industrial Park
Yeah,
Trust.
it's-
So-
it's in a different.
Okay, so I guess the thing is, what I can see is even if the town has this, accepted this as a town way, there's no cul-de-sac, there's no turnaround, there's nothing, you're showing 150-foot frontage, I think? What do you have for frontage that's yellowed or white,
I think
pinked
it's more
out?
than that, there's 143, 80, 22, 183, 203 feet.
Okay, so you have 300, let's just say 300 feet, you have 300 feet on an undeveloped,
200 and...
I think it's 150.
on an uncompleted road that's been accepted, I guess is what bottom line is. You can't, and again, unless legal advice, I don't think, you can't claim your frontage on a legal public way. And if you do, then I would think that coming for approval for a building, you're gonna need a turnaround, you're gonna need, multiple, you're not gonna have a fire truck or people driving down there without means of getting out. It's a dead-end street. So that's,
Okay, well, since '96, I've been paying taxes on this lot as a buildable lot.
and again, that's fine. I'm not
Okay.
saying that it's not a buildable lot. What I'm saying is, if you're saying you have frontage on a roadway that doesn't exist, it exists on paper, and it doesn't exist in pavement, then it's not, in my opinion, it's not, it may be legal frontage, but in order to get that to be a buildable lot, you're gonna have to improve the road and do a cul-de-sac.
Okay, all right, so...
I would think that-
So then if you look at this paper I just gave you, it's a judgment, then I call upon the town to finish the road so I can put my lot in.
And if that's the case, like I said, legally, if that's the case, then that's what the town's gonna have to do. If it's something that the town, I'm just saying that I don't see us as a board approving access to, how big's that building?
4,000 feet, it's a little small building.
Okay, so it's 4,000 feet, so what do you got, 20 parking spaces or something? So it's not that there's, a lot of activity going on there, but it is still an open road. It's not gonna have gates, it's not private. Somebody has to access, somebody's gonna drive down there, and there's no means of turnaround or anything else, so. Did you read?
I read it quickly, I'd have to read it 4 times.
So,
I found it awful hard to read.
With the article, if that accepted the road, that accepted it all the way to the cul-de-sac to the other side of the brook, that unless they specify it.
no, I understand that,
That doesn't
and that's
seem to
fine.
make sense,
Well, it doesn't, that's fine, but you come in front of the planning board to have an approval on a piece of property that you don't you don't have, the only access you have is through undevelopable land. You have to bring that up to up to today's standards in order to access that piece of property, because it's not,
When I first, Dennis mentioned it to me when he saw the plan before the hearing, he just said, you got an issue here, and he said, I won't give a building permit, because the road's not built, and I said, well, I don't know. So that's when I said, well, I'm not gonna review it unless we know these questions get answered.
which one did you say to look at? You said when,
Paragraph 5 is, it's just, I can read it if you'd like. It says, Raynham shall prepare said bid specifications, seek public bids, pursuant to law for the rebuilding and or completion of the roadways, drainage, sewer, flushing, and all work at the 2 subdivisions, which was the other one I mentioned,
Blacksmith Road.
Meadow, which is Blackbrook, sites, all in accordance with the approved definitive subdivision plans.
and this was, and who wrote this out?
Mark Antime.
All right, well, I think if the rest of the members don't have anything additional to add to it, I think we ought to send this to Mark Antime for his,
Yeah.
because there's nothing, Dennis is gonna send it to us, and if we're looking at it, myself, I think you would have to have the road up to today's standards to have frontage, and you would have to have means to turn around. Whether it be 4,000 square feet or 40,000 square feet, because people are still gonna access this piece.
I think you gotta start with, is it a public road or not? If it is a public road, I'm not sure how much we can make him do to bring it up to any standards.
Well, the article, which you probably want to read it, I remember when this happened, I think the intent probably was what roads were there. In other words, the bid, because remember Gordon and Margaret had, I think it was $250,000 or something in a passbook, and that's what they were going
Letter of
after.
credit.
Yeah, letter of credit, so that was,
Savings.
and when they fixed the roads, they fixed what roads existed. I don't think they.
Yeah, I know exactly.
I don't think their
I know what
intent
you're
was to
saying.
build the next 800
What's that?
feet in the woods.
Roger Stolte, he sent an email to Mark today asking about that article, whether or not it's an accepted road,
And do we have,
whether or not the deeds were ever conveyed. I don't believe it's heard back yet.
From the purpose?
Well, that's the article for the road.
right,
From the property owners.
did you see this one here, Kirk? I'm sorry. We did get a letter from Roger.
Do you guys own any land to the right? Is that say?
Over
Robert
here?
Turner? Yeah.
No.
Have you received a copy? Yeah,
No, this was, there was 2 lots that were subdivided when I did the 40B project over here.
But it still has
And-
Robert Turner on there.
Well, the town, I gave the town the deeds, I don't know what the
Yeah.
town did with the deeds, this was years ago. I still get tax bills for it, and I just throw them away, because it's the town's deed, it has the deed to it. So,
Yeah, I think that's what Roger wants looked into.
Well, I was
these-
gonna say, if you
these-
did, you could make the cul-de-sac.
well,
You know?
this is, I've given the deed back in 2000, early 2000 to the town for both of these lots, which are, I'm trying to remember the lot numbers, but one has the playground and the basketball court on it, and the other one's a drainage easement, which goes out behind the project.
Okay.
So
I
those deeds
just,
were
I
given
just
to
saw
the town a long time ago.
I just saw your brother's name on it, so I figured if they're
Well,
vacant, you could just have a
apparently, I don't
cul-de-sac.
think they ever got recorded.
could you state your name for the record and your position here? What do you,
Sure, Todd Pilling from Pilling Engineering. I'm the engineer that prepared the plan.
did you receive a copy of this letter from
We were given that letter at the last meeting,
Roger?
yes.
Okay. Is there, I guess, if we can just, did you address any of this that was on this letter at the last meeting? That Roger's letter was sent in, talking about mosquitoes and,
Well, I believe that we tabled it and that Chris and I were gonna get together and go over this, and he was gonna look at the drainage and everything else as part of the review that he was going to do. But he didn't wanna do it until we knew that we,
Right.
We haven't gotten to the engineering,
Okay.
we're still working on the legal issues.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't wanna waste a bunch of time.
yeah, no, that's, I'm just looking to see what else is in front of us. So if we do send this for we would have to ask, the planning board's gonna have to ask Mark also. And the highway department can ask the question, but I think the question's gonna have to come from us.
Yes.
So if we ask Mark Antine his opinion on the portion of, what's that road?
Forge River Parkway.
Forge River Parkway, the portion of Forge River Parkway that's undeveloped, but is shown on the plan, is that portion a public way? And if so, and if the planning board finds that the applicant needs to improve or bring that up to current standards, then is the town of Raynham responsible for doing that because of the taking back, whatever the date was? So I guess that's pretty specific, so because I don't think this is something that we can have an answer come back that, well, it is when, where, one of those answers that, you can get. I think it's pretty specific that, because the second thing is gonna be, if that is the case, then this was deeded over to the town and taken, but, like Chris said.
Was it deeded?
No.
We don't know.
That's, again,
The other question, if they put up a bond to complete the road, there must be a paper trail on what that bond was
There
put up
is.
to. So
There's
it would have
about
been put up to
19,000.
complete the road that existed. It wouldn't be able to be put up, you don't put up a bond to complete a road in the woods.
Well, discussion, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, Roger's interested in doing some work over there.
Yeah, it's an item on your agenda that's on
Mhm.
the bottom for Forge River Bond, so.
so, okay, well, the bond, and we'll ask them about the bond money, and if we have that letter, or
If we can use it.
if we have it, when was that? Did you recall the date that was,
That article was, what year was that, 94? No,
This was 2004.
2004.
I think it was 98,
2004, according to this.
yeah. But I believe that says, doesn't it say once the road is finished, the money goes back to the
Well,
applicant?
It's not a simple we vote to accept, because it's subject to, first of all, conveyance, good and marketable title of the way by the owners. I don't know who the owners are.
At the
And,
time, it was Kirkpac.
well, but they were in bankruptcy, so I don't know what the bankruptcy court did with it, if it went back to them or not. And then, it's subject to a certificate of compliance for any work associated with roadways to be performed pursuant to a permit issued under the Wetlands Protection Act.
So whoever finished the
I have
road,
a
which
little
would have been
information if you'd like.
Roger, I think.
Yeah,
had to do
go ahead.
that.
I think the issue was the fee in the road, with the state law that you own half the road out to the center line. I think so some of the lots that were originally conveyed, they never conveyed the fee in the road, or never retained the fee in the road. So there's some of the lots on the left side when you come in, that the lot owners still own the fee in the road. Whereas on my side, I retained all the ownership and the fee in the road. No one's ever asked me for a deed in it. The other issue was the conservation. The town filed a notice when I owned the property, an order of conditions on my property to complete some drainage work, and an order was recorded to do that work with the Conservation Commission.
Maureen, can you just turn that microphone that way, just so they can hear?
And I don't believe that's ever been, I don't think that's ever been signed off.
What I had brought up, had been with the last meeting, Mark, I believe when a road gets conveyed, and this triggered, I think, Henry and Burke back then doing conveyance of easements when they get subdivision approval, so they don't have to deal with it later, that he wanted everybody to sign off the fee. I actually had a court case that I had told you about. I didn't know if you guys found it. What happened was, in Easton, they accepted a subdivision just like this, and it had a paper street like that that went to the abutting property, like, between two lots that was never built. Then a guy came in to build on it, And the first developer, which was Fedorov, purposely reserved his fee in the road so he could, squeeze the guy that owned the land next to it. The town voted at town meeting to accept this road. They didn't have the caveats on that this does, but they voted. And it went to court because they approved the guy's subdivision. And so Fedorov brought him to court, and he lost because they said the town voted to accept this road. So they don't need to get all the fee in the center of the road. They voted, so it's in effect kind of like an eminent domain taking. They voted to accept the road, but this has all
Well,
these
again,
conditions on it.
This is different, though. This is a layout. This isn't even a road at this point.
Yeah,
is
this
only a
one
layout.
wasn't either. It was very
So-
similar, but
So when I read it, and that's why I say, when I read that first article, and the town accepted the roadways, well, the layout being not developed is not, to me, considered a road.
I wouldn't think so either.
So,
Can I get a copy of that article?
I'm reading what somebody gave me.
Burke has it. That was the town meeting article on it, but, yeah, it's 2004, Article 46.
Do you have anything to add to what we're gonna ask Mark?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward what he needs to weigh in on.
So there is a lot of information, and I think somebody just has to put the information together from day one up until today, and just give the planning board a definitive answer on what it is, so we can work towards getting it either developed. Do we do a cul-de-sac there, or do we have to develop the whole thing to have frontage?
You want to
Because that's the-
include this and that? I'm sure Mark has them, but might save them from searching.
Oh, I would, most definitely, if we can,
Include that in this.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, from
Include the
Mark's
article in
question.
this with Mark, just so it keeps him from searching,
Yes.
but I'm
Mark's
sure he's
already
pretty
out there
familiar
today.
with
I'll
this, because
include it.
what,
Okay.
I remember it was kind of a long, drawn-out battle at the time, so I'm
All
sure
right,
Mark
well-
has a big folder on this.
and I think just that way, we get a concrete answer back, and then we'll go forward.
Do we want to ask his opinion as far as buildability, in effect? You wanna just make it-
Definitely, the legal part of the road. First, we're gonna have to, if we feel as a board that that needs to be improved to have legal frontage, and if the town has bond money and the town really does have ownership of it, okay, well, we have to figure out how it's gonna get developed, how it's gonna get done, because basically it's no different than somebody coming in here that has a piece of property on a plan that has no access, or has access, but it's not developed, it's not improved or brought up to standards. We had one of those on Sandy Hill.
Yeah.
If somebody comes in with a plan, shows all these streets, but they haven't been there, they've never been built, so it's not legal. So I guess with, what we need from Mark is, one, who owns it? Why are we retaining the $19,000 for bond money, and what was that for? And to get to the second part, so I'm not having two things going on, let's ask, about the money and what's it for?
Can we use it?
Can we use it to improve what's there, what's currently there?
Yeah.
I thought they spent it all.
No, there's some money there.
And that way there, if it does come up to say that, yes, that's ours and it's the town's responsibility, then we're gonna have to figure out what we can do for $19,000. And that's gonna have to be good enough, so the applicant can build. And we're gonna have to sign off on it. And if not, if the town doesn't own it, or the town may own it, but what they accepted was not the undevelopable part, because reading that, that's what I would say.
I think the bigger issue is the agreement for judgment here that the town entered into, that they were gonna complete the roadway.
Most definitely, and that's something, and if that's Mark Iantine's writing,
Right.
and he signed it, then,
But you'd think the intent at the time was to complete the partially completed roadways, not to complete unconstructed roadways.
yeah, I mean, if something had
Get that.
a binder on it, or curbing on it, or something, because this is basically a paper street, that's really what it is. Your frontage right now is, stops at the end of the pavement. It's no different than a subdivision. We had subdivisions come in off
This
of,
lot here, it stops in front of this lot too, so this lot really doesn't, but it has frontage.
well, it has
on this
frontage
side.
on Bellows Road.
Right, so, but
It's weird that they released the lot, on a Form J, but maybe the bond as well.
bond
if
released
you
it.
could see the don't know if in the bond, they specify what that bond is for from Station A to Station B, if that,
And again, the way things were done back then and now may be a
Yeah.
conflict, it's just we have to figure out how we're gonna
Yeah,
get
it's
through. Do we even have the right to approve something on an undevelopable piece of property that maybe the town owns? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
when it first come in, I just brought it up saying you could spend all this money and then get to the building department and get a no. So that's a question
Right.
you'd want to answer first.
So, if, we're gonna have to table this, and we'll get that answer from Mark Antine. And we will put you on. At our next meeting is gonna be June 20th.
Is there any time to act issues?
He signed an extension last meeting, and just double check. July 12th.
And we're gonna put you on for 6:10, because we have 6:05 already. And then hopefully we have something from Mark, that is pretty concrete for all of us to move forward with. That's all we need.
Do you want a letter from Dennis for his opinion as zoning enforcement officer as well?
No, I want a letter from Mark Antine and Dennis. If Mark says it's
Yeah, yeah,
what it is, I think it's more of a legal issue than it is,
yeah.
if he says that, yes, he has frontage, and yes, we have the money, then it's gonna be up to us to figure out how we're gonna give this guy frontage. If,
Well, this is the easy fix right here, and everything goes away.
but again, it's an easy fix if you have the right to do it, and if we have the right to do it. But the way it sits right now, it's up to, can the planning board approve that without frontage? I don't think you'll get a building permit. And that, I think if Dennis, if we approve that the way that's set, Dennis would not give a building permit, and then you'd be in court. So I think going to Mark right off the bat is the best case for everybody.
Okay,
All right?
so that's June 20th?
Yes, at 6:10.
Great.
And if you do come up with any other information from now to then, that's helpful, please get it over to Maureen.
Well, I have a file that's about...
Don't bring that to Maureen.
Oh,
If there's anything that's gonna help us
This whole project is
with,
probably literally...
I'm sure. If there's anything that's gonna help us with the questions I have for Matt, because that's all we need,
Right.
for us to move forward, then get it over to Maureen and she'll forward it to Mark Antine.
Okay.
All right?
All right, great.
Thank you.
Question concerning dates.
Yep.
We have a June 20th meeting, I think the next one should be July 4th.
Okay.
So
Oh, yeah.
I presume we're not going to have that.
I have summer schedule on
Summer
there.
schedule.
So then I wondered about the 18th, okay.
Okay, so she has that under business, so we'll talk about that one. So all of Roger's comments, I guess, and again, for any review purpose, I definitely would hold off.
Don't wanna waste my
No,
time.
I would hold off until we can figure out what we have, what our rights are to do. Okay, I'll turn that back over here, see.
It should have been answered, question should have been answered, but all money was dropped in that chamber,
Yeah, no, I know. All right, next on our agenda, Metro Volkswagen Site Plan Modification. Please step up, state your name for the record.
Brian Dunn with MBL Land Development and Permitting. And with me is Paul Belay.
Hello.
Metro.
Now, I understand you were in front of the board at the last meeting that I wasn't here. Correct. And I do have, is this letter, Burke, was this a new letter, or is this the letter that was brought in?
Well, this is a June 3rd.
This is the letter that we sent in earlier this week
Okay.
in support of our request for the minor modifications.
All right, so before we get going, do you have a,
Yeah.
you have a plan?
We had originally sent in the plans, but I brought some additional copies for everybody to take a look at. And part of the request for the minor modification is really twofold.
Is
One,
this a giant retaining wall property?
This is where slips
Volkswagen,
was.
yeah, on the
Slips
corner,
into that
on
one.
the corner of,
This is the semi-giant retaining wall,
Yeah. it's going this
so
way.
they're the other end of the property.
so the request was twofold. One, it was my understanding that the planning board
approve the lighting change. Okay, so that's off the table, it's been done. 2, no? Okay. So that's why I included in the letter. So
Okay.
I made that part of the formal request in the letter. So 2 changes, one really for Mass Highway and safety issues are, originally we had out here, in this vicinity here, a paved waterway going to the existing catch basin out here, and was requested by Mass Highway to turn the catch basin into a manhole, and then put the new catch basin in the proposed gutter line in Route 44. So we made that change. And then also because of the issue of drainage on Church Street and how Mass Highway is kind of connected into that, they were concerned about having any more additional runoff to Church Street. And because of safety issues with the regrading of the overhead doors in the back, it was best on the safety issue because of the small width of Church Street to get rid of the access out to Church Street, and therefore keeping this up here flat and keeping all the drainage on site. So that's
Goes
really...
from Mass Highway?
Yeah.
Church Street's not there.
The drainage that goes from Mass, from...
Unless they're
is-
talking
is
about...
yeah, it's
coming
connecting
down
in.
there.
No, but I mean your access, you had access to Church Street?
No, what we did was removing the access prevented any more runoff going off into Church Street. So closing it off was a benefit to the site because of drainage and safety. Because also when we regraded this area for the overhead doors, this became too steep.
Now, I
So-
remember when this came in front of us, we did see this wall, because I think somebody, maybe even Burke said, what do you need such a, tall wall for? Isn't that level already? And you had mentioned, well,
Right.
to the eye it looks level, but when you want it to be with Ford, then that's why the wall's there.
That's correct. So we
Did you take that, because I don't have that plan in front of us, did you take that in consideration, the height of that wall? Because you haven't changed the height of that wall from the original approval.
No.
So the height of that wall from the original approval to
So-
today
Right.
is, how were you gonna handle?
Well, we had a driveway going out with the walls coming into the driveway, but when the owner wanted to regrade the corner also and make it flat up there to have the overhead doors, there's really a requirement to make it not as steep. So we had like an 8% grade going out into Church Street, so because safety issues, they didn't want to have that anymore because
Well,
of-
I'm just confused on how Mass Highway has jurisdiction way down Church Street. I mean,
I don't know if they have jurisdiction on Church Street.
Then why would
but
they
it was-
ask you to
it
do
was-
design
It was
changes?
brought up to us when we were doing the drainage.
All right, well, I mean,
that's good.
that's neither here nor there.
So it's
Pickle
really,
cat for a second?
so it's really a safety concern that we're putting forward in front of you, to not have that driveway as a steep grade going out into Church Street and possibly having accidents in that area.
When we approved this, where were the trucks and cars, I should say, where are the cars being unloaded?
Well, they're all being unloaded, if you look at the major site plan over here. So originally, when we came in front of you for the Mazda building, which is a Kia building, all of this loading happens over here. So all of that has not changed.
Okay, so-
So all the truck loading and unloading is over in this area here.
All right,
Is
so,
this where we have the agreement that the land has to be owned by the same people?
right. And the reason why was because of the unloading and loading, and
Right.
I took a ride down there today, looking at, what's this going to do, if it's gonna do anything to the piece of property.
Way too many things happening for me on
And I saw they were doing these curbs up here today.
Can't see it.
No,
Having
horrible.
the original height of the wall, they were doing the curbs out here, here's the intersection. The height of the wall that's there now is the original height that was approved. And again, I don't know if it was that, because I know we looked at it, I don't know if it's that we said, okay, well, that's, having a entrance is fine coming off of Church Street. I wouldn't want to see a driveway opening on that side of
Mass Highway, they
the
wanted
dealership.
to be in the gutter.
Trucks aren't gonna go there and unload, so it's basically employees are gonna be getting in and out. And I drive down there with my truck with double wheels. And if somebody else is coming down Church Street, I have to slow down and pull over. And then I walked out to the front where the lights are, and it's a lot easier.
This is where, this is the area.
You're gonna still get out onto 44 from those lights. Those lights are still gonna help the entrance of
He
this.
didn't change it on every sheet.
And I think that's how, even when we were looking at this originally, the location of that driveway, where that was gonna go, in conjunction with the lights. So, you know, it's another access, this being basically the same ownership. I think we have 3 accesses onto Route 44. I don't think Church,
I see 2. Where's the?
well, you have one down on, 1, 2, and 3. So you have 3 accesses.
2, 3.
And if you look at Church Street and you look at Route 44, I'd rather take my chances on waiting for that light on Route 44 than going out onto Church Street.
I'd rather take my chances on Church Street. I don't like pulling out on 44. I have to do that down at my office and along 44. There's no way I want to not have a Church Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a light going that
There's a light
way.
at Church Street now, right?
Yes.
So you pull out on Church Street, you got easy access on Church Street because it's not high volume. You got a light so you can cross 44. To me, that seems better.
I'm just confused that you removed it.
Well, if you look at the height of the
Of
wall,
course, I can't see.
sorry?
You
The
said
first
8%
page
grade?
is not
Yes.
readable,
It's
so.
nothing.
That's,
I mean, it's not like it's a mountain, that's 8%. I mean, it's, you know, 8.
did you take a ride out there to see the wall?
I saw the wall, but I didn't see what the driveway grading was, but 8%'s not a steep grade. I mean, that's not.
No, wait a minute. If you have, what's that park across the way? Forge Park?
No, Brookside.
You got that park with that driveway pretty close.
It's actually straight across, it looks like. That's it.
So you have that driveway, right, probably pretty close to being directly across. I don't know, I see the wall, the height of the wall, the way it sits. I don't think the property is gonna have any better, I don't think this is gonna take away from the piece of property by,
You're showing us a
Safety-wise.
modification. Where's the plan, the original plan? I mean, it's tough to compare when you
Yeah, I
only,
didn't bring
when you
that,
don't,
I didn't bring that with me.
we have no idea what else,
Yeah,
what's
this,
modified.
right, I'm telling you that that is the modification.
Well,
Additionally, we had
I'd
here
rather
was an
see it,
access that
you know.
came down here with an island that wrapped around, the retaining wall came this way, and the retaining wall came that way, to give the driveway, go down to Church Street. So that's exactly what we had there before.
so it's just a grading change which is associated with that driveway.
That's correct.
Well, if that wasn't originally shown on the plan, I don't believe that we would have denied it because we don't have access going up to Church Street. I don't even think it would have been a discussion point when it came in originally. So to ask for minor modification for eliminating it, I don't see how that's gonna, how that should impact the whole project. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if it came in front of us without it at the time, I think we would have looked at it and said, gee, give us, that would be the last thing I would ask for coming out into Church Street. I don't think Church Street is a very safe drivable as it is for anything wider than a car.
Church Street has a lot of traffic, and that first 100 yards of Church Street certainly needs to be widened and regraded and.
Because I think Roger, even originally, I believe Roger gave us a letter.
Yeah, he was
About
also
Church
concerned
Street.
About Church Street flooding.
Wasn't that flooding or something that he was
I don't-
concerned about?
I don't think so, but I don't I mean, these plans have changed so many times, and it's this dealership and that one, and, I can't remember anything on these things.
Well, like I said, if this came in front of us,
The
without,
drainage runs towards 44, I guess maybe that would have been Mass Highway's issue, but no, there's a low point here, and it doesn't show where any of this stuff goes to. Where does this drainage go to?
I'm sure that this drainage is all connected and goes into the back through this way.
So why would Mass Highway care if it goes away from their highway?
The
I just-
issue was that whole area flooding, so they were concerned about.
That area
water
doesn't
going-
flood.
Yep, and that was one of the reasons why they made that change too,
I don't,
out on the front on Route 44.
Well, even if,
Don't let that for 40 years.
even without Mass, even take Mass Highway off the table, Chris, even without,
Yeah,
if
it's
this
just
came in
I'm
front of
wondering.
us, that's what I looked at today, is this, if this came in front of us, would we have denied it because there wasn't access coming up to Church Street? And, my opinion is no, so, to demand to keep something that was in there that we wouldn't have asked for originally is kind of,
I think I might have asked. I don't take left turns on 44. I always go right wherever I am and turn around somewhere. I've had one friend die pulling out of McDonald's. And I think 100 feet about 100 feet from,
Was that Scott Brown's mother?
Yeah.
Yeah, remember that.
I don't think it's safe at all. I think there ought to be a way for people to get out and get to a light.
is there any,
I'd have to see the previous design.
is there any consultant, safety consultant,
The plans downstairs you want.
Yeah.
is there anything that can be done further?
The wall you have already built.
Yeah, the wall, when I saw it today, the wall's there.
They were built without the minor modification, basically.
Yeah, just went ahead and did it. I
Same as the
don't like
lights
that
from
either.
before, I mean, same as, they just, it's,
If I recall, this dealership has a way of just doing things and then coming for modifications afterwards.
yeah. I mean, the same thing happened with the lights, the same thing's happened about 10 times out here.
Because the previous plan, which we're going to get by the way, so you can look at it.
So if the guy built the walls, you obviously prepared a plan for him to build the walls. And now you're coming to us after?
I did not prepare a plan, my office did not prepare a plan showing the construction of the wall. This is the plan that went to Mass Highway for approval,
This plan?
yes.
So this didn't
That
have came to us?
Didn't
the
come
walls
to you,
were built.
no, until we got Mass Highway approval.
But I mean, it's built.
And now it's built, yes.
But that plan, that was on the original plan that we approved for the site.
The wall was, but not the closing of that driveway.
The wall, right. So
Well,
that,
Is it the wall that was built that was approved, or?
yeah, this wall was approved
Changed the
except,
plan after,
No, but then,
approved and built the wall.
yeah,
Didn't
they
come
get
to
it,
us.
didn't come to us. So the wall that we approved is not what was built, correct?
Correct.
wall that was built was approved. The only thing that wasn't approved was the entrance, because there was an opening in that wall.
So we'll go to sheet 5. Sheet 5.
Didn't you make changes in the wall?
Right, so this is the original wall.
And what's the height on the original?
So the height of the wall here is about a little over 6 feet.
And what is the wall that you built?
It's a stone wall, it's a Versalock wall.
Yeah, but
What it is,
it's 6
Henry.
feet, the height of
What's
it.
the height?
It's the same height as shown on here. All they did was continue it around this way,
Yeah.
closing off this driveway and making this area flat.
So it was already approved, Henry. The only difference is the opening there.
Oh, no, it wasn't approved. It wasn't approved to come around.
No, that's what I
It
said.
wasn't approved to, cut off the driveway, whether we think it's necessary or not. Yeah, it just annoys me that they do these things and then come to us later.
Yeah, that's not that steep. I mean, what scale is this plan?
The scale of the plan is 20.
20. So you're dropping 1 foot and 1, 2, 3. You're dropping 1 foot and 70, 80 feet. That's not steep.
No, that's not my point. My point is, they do these things and then come back to us. And how hard is it to set up a meeting to come to us?
I totally understand.
It's just not,
I
it's just not
agree.
this one time. It's, one thing after another.
What I was saying about that wall that was built was approved except for the portion of that entrance. The portion of that entrance, showing the entrance and around the
Took it upon
corner,
himself to completely
is
eliminate an entrance and build a wall.
what's the modification,
You know?
is what the minor modification is.
Remember, there's no approval to come around like this.
Right.
Well, they basically took it upon himself to eliminate an entrance and build a wall, and
And then
then come after. Because maybe in time for an occupancy.
So,
Do you want to see it, Burke?
It's not steep at all. I
You
mean,
want
it's
the
being
original?
falsely
That's the
represented,
original.
you know, it's not steep at all. I mean,
Did you-
it'd be the equivalent of going up about 3 or 4 inches from
Did you read the letter
here to
from,
the other end of the room.
now, you had something to,
But the one
when,
other
in the
thing is,
midst of us talking, you were
it
about
allows
to
all
say
3
something?
sites to access on the
Could you
Church
state your
Street
name again for the record?
44.
I'm Paul Belay, I'm the project manager with Metro Motor Group.
Yep.
So just adding to regarding elevation changes and all that.
This is my stuff.
Yeah,
So-
I'm pulling the thing out.
Like Brian said, when we raised the grade for those back doors, obviously it made more of a slope. And I'm not that familiar with the plans, the grade, but when I was out there, the slope was very severe. So the thing is, when you're moving new cars in winter seasons, ice up, you have cars that will slide down that slope into Church Street. That was one concern. The second concern is that is not going to be an access for customers. Customers are going to enter from the front, enter into the service drive of that facility, and when they return their car from service, it's driven back in to the service reception area, facing out to the main entrance. They will never use the back entrance. The customer will never use that.
How do you prevent it?
Say it
Why
again?
not? I mean, why would you
If I'm
deal with
coming down-
44 when you could use Church
Yeah, if I'm
Street?
coming down Church Street, why wouldn't I go up that little driveway to access it?
Well, I mean, that's a good example is Masters. You're driving to Masters, you can go around the back of Masters to go out to Hill Street. Do you? Is that something that you do? You know, it's like, that's like, behind.
Use that entrance.
That's the back of the building. And again, I don't think,
But I mean, traffic flow, I should get 3 sites on 44, and this allows you a way out to a light. It seemed to me it would be good planning. It was good planning to have the entrance in. And I agree with Henry, that kind of rubs me the wrong way, that this is repeatedly done where you changed elevations of doors, you change this, you change that, so you're changing all these things against the approved plan, and then you're causing yourself these problems, and, because of your grading, and when you
did
should
the
have
elevation
thought
of
of
the
that.
doors in the back change? Or was the,
No, the finished floor stayed the same, but the addition to the doors, if you change the doors and you need access to the doors, that puts that 50 elevation right at the corner. So when you go from 50 down to Church Street, that's where that 8% comes in. So the requirement to have it flat, they wanted to put all these overhead doors in the back to make it flat at the back of the building.
So, shouldn't that should have, I mean, you were gonna completely regrade the whole back of the building and change all your doors and your entrances? You don't think that should have triggered you coming back here first?
Absolutely.
Instead of building the entire thing, building the wall and just ignoring us completely, like they've pretty much done every step of the way in this place, and I don't know. I mean, it seems like every job has been like this, you know? Why waste your time drawing a plan if you're not gonna go by it?
well,
Why waste our time
I
going
don't
through it,
recall the
reviewing
other jobs being like this, but that's neither here or there. We have, they're looking for minor modification for an entrance and lighting. Is there anything that the applicant can do to, any further information that they can gather to get an approval for the entrance being removed on Church Street, or is it,
I just don't think that's a minor modification.
I don't think it's a minor modification, and I don't think they're gonna convince me that only having an entrance exit on 44 is safer than having one on Church Street.
I agree with Brooke.
okay, well, somebody make a motion? That
I'll
you're-
make a motion
You
that
have,
the-
no, your letter, your request is for 2.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, well, let's discuss the lighting. I don't,
My memory was the lights, we did ask questions, it's not gonna be any higher, the poles aren't gonna be any higher than 20 feet, which is what we approved, and I forget what the other part of it was.
if they were LEDs or something?
sir.
LEDs, that's right, both side and one
That's
LED.
your major change, right? Is the type
There's
of
an
bulb?
additional amount of poles, with more lighting on the building.
Why are there more poles in there? And how many more are there?
The original was 8 to 20,
I think the LEDs have less lighting, so they need more bulbs. I think that was the,
That is correct. So the
And
plan-
why do you use LEDs, because they're more efficient?
more efficient, yeah.
I don't think I have issue with the poles, as long as I'm not sure where they are, but.
I think most lighting companies, CMRP, they all encourage using the LED lighting even indoors now.
And I assume these have already been built and put in also?
No, they're not.
Oh. Well, in that case, I have no problem with this.
Yeah, we went through all this at the last meeting,
In the pole placements, I'm not interested.
we went through it and we were okay with it, I don't know what I'm looking at here.
What was the, on the back side of this property, was there anything back here?
Yes, there was a requirement to put a landscaping buffer, which is still on the plans for proposed to be constructed that way.
Okay. All right, so this is just a photometric plan. It was done by probably the lighting company, Lithium Lighting. And there's no overspill or minimal?
Yeah, there's really very little overspill, and we follow into the site plan regulations on foot candles at the base of the poles.
Okay, so if you have,
I'll make the motion that we approve the minor modification by Lithonia Lighting dated April 29th, 2013. What's the name of this project?
Metro VW.
Metro VW.
West. Metro VW West.
Metro VW West. Solely as to the lighting plan.
second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Five.
Yeah. And the other minor modification? What's on a letter
Oh,
that they presented, you have that? I think you said you put them both on one letter?
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we deny the requested minor modification of eliminating a curb cut opening on Church Street as shown on the proposed grading, drainage, and utility plan dated May 20, dated,
Yeah, that's the date over there. That was the original date of the site plan.
Now, do you have any DOT correspondence, or is this hearsay? Do you have any actual correspondence that states
I do
that?
have a letter from Mass Highway.
So you have a letter from Mass Highway, and it addresses what you state in here? That's not a letter that you have in your briefcase or anything? If that portion of the minor modification was tabled, if they present the letter from Mass Highway, is that something that the rest of the members would look at?
I don't have a problem with it moving the catch basin to the gutter line, because that's where you should have a catch basin anyway, and the manhole, that's on the 44 side. I agree with Burke on the entrance issue. I just wanted to see it, just to see if it exists. It just seems to me it's weird that Mass Highway typically only cares up to their property line, why they care of drainage going onto Church Street that runs away from the highway anyway. You know, it doesn't make any sense. And I've never seen flooding down there. I've been down that road for 40 years in that section.
Well, we have nothing from Mass
Yeah.
Highway,
No, just a
other
statement
than the
saying, well,
representations in the
Yeah.
MDL.
that's why I say if there's something that they can bring in, or
If they could request again if they want, if they have some stuff from Mass Highway, but I tend to agree with Burke.
All right, Burke, you were in the middle of making a motion.
Actually made a motion for everything, as shown on the letter dated or requested on the letter dated June 3, 2013.
But that includes the lighting, which we just approved.
Well, I said as to the elimination of the entrance exit on Church Street.
That was a motion to deny.
Deny.
It was part of that motion because you also think it's not a minor modification?
That it's not a minor modification, and that we believe that safety issues are better served by a exit onto a minor road that leads to a light.
I'll second that.
second up for discussion. Any other? Russ, any comments? All in favor? Aye.
I'd like to,
Unanimous, or?
Was that unanimous?
Yep.
I'd like to make another motion that the minor modification involves moving the catch basin to the curb on 44 and replacing the original proposed catch basin with a manhole be approved.
I think Breck already did that from,
Well, that'd be good to separate that out.
Yeah.
A second.
any other discussion?
Any-
Yep.
Excuse me, any chance you could repeat that? I lost it.
A motion to approve the requested minor modification that involves moving the original catch basin
Oh, it's in there.
on the 44 section be moved to the gutter, and the proposed catch basin be changed to a manhole. Was that being done today, or was that just curbing today?
And that was seconded?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Okay, anything else on that?
Thank you very much.
All righty. You can take these, we're gonna keep,
You want to keep one of them, or?
did you keep any last time?
Do you have a lighting?
I don't have the new one. I don't have any of the new ones.
All right, so,
I'm not positive. Is that a new lighting?
These are the new lighting.
Do we have one? I'm not sure if we have one.
I left
already.
lighting last time.
Did you leave it here?
Yeah.
okay, so,
When I submitted the other plans, I gave copies of these too, of this lighting plan.
Oh, yeah.
I think the other one you have actually had it highlighted with the specific.
Do you have one of these down there?
No, I do not have the new lighting.
all right, well, maybe, is there any possible chance of, seeing you don't want to mess up your back door, is there any possible chance of buying a strip of land from your butter? Putting access, and then you'd have to come back in front of the board for a modification again. What I would suggest, if there is something like that, that would be a way of getting out to Church Street, is anytime you want to ask for minor modification before you do all the drawings, just show up at a planning board meeting, ask for the minor, or ask if it will qualify for minor modification, and then go forward with the modification. But that might be a solution of gaining access to a 50-foot strip or something from the neighbor, adding it to the property, leaving the slopes and everything at the building, and then having a roadway going down, a driveway going down behind the building, which would even be better access.
The building inspector can go in there and
Maureen, you're gonna take a copy,
This is the original, yes, and I need a copy of the revised,
and that's the revised right there.
which is here. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, very good, have a good night. 890 Broadway, determination of a site plan, proposed retail business.
Is that the Gilmore Street one?
890, this is across from China Garden,
They are tabling.
so that's tabled.
Where is 890?
Right across from China Garden,
It was Fulton Davis.
Oh, Woman's
Oh.
Place?
The building out front, the front building.
I think it's gone through a few hands
Yeah,
by now,
Woman's
but
Salon,
what was his house at one time? and
I remember going there for a
Trash.
party one time.
It was
And
a,
talking to Bill Chickering.
I saw him a couple of years ago in Phoenix.
oh,
I was out, Jody, we were out for a Patriots game,
uh-huh.
and I hooked up with Jody. Homeless stops at my house every now and then when he's back, but, with questions, engineer and stuff, but, you know, Jody's son turned 18, he was starting his first professional motocross race that weekend, and he came in first on his first moto.
So isn't that already zoned for business?
Yeah, I guess Dennis wanted it, they were looking for a high-class lingerie business, so Dennis,
Well,
Dennis
is
didn't
not
sign
sure
that
if-
permit?
He's not
Wait,
sure
he's
if it's
changed.
Site plan approval for the project, he's concerned with the parking.
so again,
It's tied
it's
in at
not,
the back.
yeah, and it's not in front of us, so I'd rather not discuss it. It's, if they're gonna come in front of us to make changes to the building, then they're gonna, hire an engineer, which is the best thing to do. If it changes, a triggering a site plan to come in front of this board, and if it doesn't, then Dennis just should do what he's,
Well, he's asking the company
Excuse
to
me,
make
okay.
that
yep.
determination.
Well, again, we can't, we're not gonna be able to make a determination unless we see a plan.
Right, they're trying not to do an engineered plan, they're just gonna, I told her that she has to bring in something to show the
Yes,
parking.
well, again, I would suggest to Dennis that he is the first person that's gonna see this plan. If they're not changing location or entrances or anything else, they're improving what's there. And they're gonna have, it's been a business, it's been a hairdresser, it's been, it's been a nursery, because I went there and buy stuff. They have, all the parking, it's been paved, so there's lots of things
What's in
there.
back there now? Is it still at nursery
Daycare,
school?
way in the back.
Doggy.
Oh, now it's doggy?
Doggy daycare.
Good thing I didn't drop my kids off when,
The dog does?
so, I think it's pretty clear what's gonna trigger coming to the planning board. And,
Okay.
so if they're not gonna, they're not gonna make those
Well, they
changes.
might wanna do abbreviated, they're not really sure, this.
All right, so, yeah, so I think they can answer their own question.
So we're gonna do the summer schedule?
And summer schedule, all right, we'll see everybody back here September?
No, June 20th, I think we have to come back.
Yeah, our next meeting is June 20th, and we have two things on the agenda as of now. And from June, we have July, August, September. You have the next 3 months. Any,
Well, I think we should
July,
make,
July 4th is certainly not meeting, so July 18th is have our regular meeting.
I think that's good.
that's fine, so July 18th, and
See what comes in for August.
then you want to just do July and see what happens?
Wait till the
Yeah.
18th of
That's fine with
July
me.
and figure out August.
Because I think that's what we've been doing the last few years, is if anybody's going on vacation, then, if there's something we're going to know every 2 weeks. So we're going to know if everybody's going to be here or not going to be here, at least 3 people, so.
Not sure. Oh, no, that's July. What'd you say, July 28th?
18th.
Oh, 18th.
Is that hearing?
Okay, I have a
Okay, so we'll,
Boy Scout week-long camp.
so for everybody,
In fact, speaking of Boy Scouts, if I could, did you notice how beautiful the town hall looks?
huh?
I had sponsored a kid for an Eagle Scout project, Nick Beam, and we had 20 kids here one day and 19 another Saturday and Sunday. Did you go by at all?
No.
This past weekend, but this was a
Oh, this
bunch of...
past weekend? I was
Bunch of
on my
Eagle
back.
Scouts, future Scout candidates, but this was for an Eagle Scout project. He's helping me with some of the flower plantings on the monument, and this is how this place should look. But I think 6 loads of mulch, trimmed every bush, trimmed every tree.
I did see
pruned
how
them
nice
all,
it, we're driving by.
Mowed
I
everything.
thought, what's his name, John, the one that
Where'd the mulch come
does the everyday maintenance?
Me,
from? Where'd you get it?
Long Meadow Supply. We got some stuff donated, Yukon a little bit. Olson's is doing the plantings and everything, but they did a great job. And the only lawn that didn't get mowed by them, which unfortunately was all by the monument, and there's all clumps of grass everywhere. So I gotta go rake the whole thing out tomorrow, because our full-time maintenance guy can't mow as good as Boy Scouts.
Okay, well, we thank the Boy Scouts and Chris for
They were great.
getting that town hall looking really good. Minutes, Kirk, and the last one?
I make a motion that we waive the reading and approve the minutes of May 16, 2013.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Correspondence, Aspen Hollow, request to release snowplow funds.
Aspen Hall, been approved.
Yep, we did that last time, and let me tell you, if I don't ever hear Aspen Hollow, its name again in front of the planning board, I'd be thrilled.
I recall that's been one of your favorite projects, hasn't it?
We have a couple things on that. And I didn't know that the owner was Brookview Realty Trust. It might be, but I don't remember ever hearing that name before in regard to this.
Trust.
I believe they were on the check that put the funds up.
Okay.
All right,
Whoa,
so,
whoa, whoa, whoa. Just because they put the funds up, we need the owner to request the return of the money.
Isn't that Mark Aaron?
yeah,
And
my
who-
parent, he's a trustee.
Oh, okay.
Says right on there, he signed it as trustee.
And we also have a letter from an abutter.
Now, that's gonna be separate,
Okay.
because this is the snowplow account, and we made a motion. We seconded. All in favor?
For discussion?
Oh, I thought there was no discussion.
Who made the motion?
On the snowplow money.
Well, we have an abutter out there that was supposed to get something they didn't. I'd rather take care of that before we release any money.
Mark
Go
is-
right ahead. Somebody made the motion. All right, so we're gonna table that. Motion was made and seconded by some two people, and we're gonna hold for discussion. Yes, Brooke?
We have a letter from Gerald and Grace Smallhoover, who live next to Aspen Hollow Drive, and there is a strip of land which is useless to anyone but them. And I remember, this is obviously dragged on for years, but they were supposed to get the parcel deeded to them, which hasn't happened. I think it would be nice if it did happen.
We're supposed to allow them, so they didn't have to back out onto North Main, they could actually drive to Aspen Hollow.
And yes, Maureen.
They put that aside for a while because they wanted to look into the tax issue, and then they dropped it, and they've just recently
Exactly, and that's where I was
come
gonna
back
say.
with this.
Okay.
When this was in front of us, because I specifically asked, because when it first came in front of us, they were interested in having that part of the process, and I remember saying that that's not part of the planning boards. We're not gonna hold a subdivision up because you need a deed to a piece of strip of land. You know, so I said, that's something that you have to work with on outside, and you handle it. And then in the process, I still had that remembered that conversation, and then it came up, and I did ask them, and they said, no, we don't want it.
When was it? How long ago was this?
It was a while.
Yeah, so they didn't want it, so then it just said, fine. And now they're saying that they would like to have it.
Yes.
One way or the other, like you said, it's a piece of strip of land.
Well,
But
who owns the piece of strip?
It
Mark.
must be Brookfield, yeah.
Brookfield, yeah.
Mark is looking into it, he's interested in their request.
Well,
Okay,
of course, Rick,
but wait a minute now, wait a minute, didn't this go up to the town meeting?
This was a private piece that was on the corner, I don't believe it's
So-
part of the subdivision plan.
All right, well, we're gonna have to find out if this
Yeah,
was
it was
part of the
part of it.
subdivision plan, because if it is, the town owns it.
Yeah, I asked Randy about that, we don't have the deed yet.
Because it's only,
for the
it's
road.
only a strip, and it's where the driveway for that house used to be.
Well, we don't have a deed for the road, so we're waiting for Mr. Perrin to give us that, too.
I don't know how the article was written, I don't know if his acceptance is subject to a deed.
But the question was that strip part of the
Original
original
approval.
acceptance, or was it a separate
Yes.
parcel?
So I think that has to be figured out first before we can, other than that, if it has nothing to do with subdivision and has nothing to do with the planning board or the town of Raynham, then what do we care?
I agree.
If Aaron was supposed to deed us the road, I don't think we should be releasing snow money until we get the deed.
Well, I think we can vote on it to be
Subject
held
to.
subject to
That's fine?
obtaining any additional paperwork that was required from acceptance of the town meeting. And that would be the deed
Sounds good.
and what have you, so it doesn't come back in front of us
For
again.
example, the deed.
And then the strip of land I don't
Strip of
think,
land, I agree with that.
that's,
Table it, let's wait and see. So, there's a motion, I seconded.
and we had discussion, this is a motion for releasing snowplow money, but to be held
Subject to us receiving.
subject to any,
You're releasing, but we're not,
yeah,
We
We're-
voted to
voted
release,
to
we voted to approve the release of the funds, subject to the town receiving a deed to Aspen Hollow Drive.
and approve, and we want Mark Antine's okay.
okay,
And basically, you can swap. If that, you have that, then you can give him his money back.
okay.
That motion was made and seconded, and any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And the second portion of that letter is, we're just basically, we're gonna table it. We're gonna table it for, until we find out ownership of that piece. Because we're gonna get the deed,
Yeah,
we're gonna be asking for the deed, so we will receive the deed. And we did, part of that motion that Mark says, yes, this is good. So maybe maybe you can write a note down that when we send that to Mark to ask him if it was okay, if that piece is on that deed or not.
okay. I would imagine Mark Kern would take it out if he knows he can give it to these people. Yeah.
So what was approved of the town, a
Yeah.
meeting, I'm not sure. So if it can be done, then I don't think, nobody here has issues with it. I'd rather see the a butter have it, and that way at least it'd be maintained, and
Well, I know Mark's paying taxes on it still. Because you told me just pay taxes
Yeah,
again.
why would you want to bother? Just do a deed for all I want to be done with.
yeah, right, I don't know.
Yeah,
All right.
leverage.
So, maybe we'll get some more information on that. Discussion, discussion, Forge Estate, Bella Estates.
Yeah, we have too many forges.
Yeah.
That's not one, Campbell?
Yeah, Deer Hill now.
There's a letter in that.
This is,
Do you have a letter?
yeah, I do somewhere. This is something that,
I don't think this making
I'm
sense.
not sure I understood the letter.
We either do it or it's not
Well-
something with financial finance.
What are they asking? This is the little
This
place
is-
off of Barrington?
this, no,
Hill Street condos.
Where is it?
Hill Street condos.
So,
Oh, Hill Street. the
what's,
condo.
so he's saying each time, so you need an occupancy for the whole building.
For each unit, they've been getting occupancies.
Well, they do it that way?
Yes.
Oh,
he's got-
okay.
There's two so far.
right,
So,
you get an
that's how you do
occupancy.
it with a condo?
Well, this has been coming up, and I think we had this discussion, and I had this on an agenda when we had a new town planner for us to discuss, was after Berry Hill, I made the comment one night that if we're gonna get into this bond money and funds, and the town has no right, yes, let me back up. The town does have a right to ask for bond money on private projects, but when push comes to shove, like on Berry Hill, there's a bond out there, and we're not gonna go after it. So what I wanted to discuss with a new town planner was how do we take private projects? And reading this letter, it pretty much answers what I was looking at, was a bank is not gonna lend a homeowner money for a unit in a 8-unit building. They're not gonna lend for that one.
Correct.
So that's what creates a problem for people building condos, and that's why Anatosha came to us, we had a meeting downstairs, and he wanted to,
Remember, he wanted to separate the.
exactly, and we told him, no, you can't, we're not gonna do that, because that's not what the approval was. He said, well, I did in Attleboro, and that's the only way the bank would let me sell individuals. So, that's one issue. The second issue is, when I had mentioned about not taking money in for bond money anymore, you made a comment to Dennis Machado, who called me up the very next day and said, what are you, nuts? And I had a meeting with Dennis, because Chris told Dennis that I said we don't need bond money anymore. Well, that's what happened. And I said, no, the bond money that I was referring to at that meeting,
No, Dennis must have misinterpreted something I said there.
well, the money that I was
I
stating
remember talking to him on it.
on bond money is anything that the town has coming to us, a subdivision. We're gonna be, yes, we can take that bond over and complete the subdivision. Private developments, we can't. I guess you could if you wanted to, but this town or no other town is gonna take over a condo development. So how do you get that money that's in a bond over to the homeowners association like Berry Hill? And we've had many discussions about Berry Hill. How do you do that? Mark came up, even he sat in front of us, and he even said, it would have to be gift. They would have to gift the town, the association would have to gift the town money for Mark to go after that bond. And then he said, I haven't even thought about how to get that money to the association. He said, that's step two. Let's figure out step one. And it never made it past first base, so we didn't figure it out. But I'm saying, it just seems crazy to ask for bond money. When I read this letter today, I said, that's the answer.
Well, no, it isn't.
Why? If you
Because
put,
they're putting
What's the
$5,000 a
association account?
unit into the association account. That's not going to the town. That's going to the condo association, which we have no control over.
but
So how do we get the money?
And it's not enough money to do the road anyway.
but wait a minute,
Driveways, I should say.
I'm looking at this
I like
as,
the concept, but
Right.
but
Well, that's what-
it doesn't
I
work.
mean, the only reason to take bonds on private developments is just for leverage, so they'll want their money back.
Yeah.
That's the only reason we take it and hold it. We can't go in there.
and I totally understand, but the problem is, if we're gonna set something up for leverage, then I think we should assume that any one of those developments, people could go belly up. And then what do we do? At the,
That's
puts the
why
town
we
into a position.
don't
That's the
want
only time
We want it in our name, not
that
the
the
association.
town is in a position. If it goes in our name, you don't have the right to go after that bond. Mark Antine, unless the town wants to pay. And at the last one, it was basically voted to let the association come up with the funds, gift it to the town, because they can't pay Mark, because he's working for the town. And we voted to let the association gift $10,000 to the town of Raynham, and we were gonna pay Mark. And again, it just didn't get into a big discussion. So I'm looking at, don't even look at
Yeah, no, I
me.
see
I'm not
what you're
looking at a
saying.
dollar amount, or I'm not
Yeah.
looking at the legal part, but
Okay.
I'm looking at myself being I'm going into a building, there's 8 units, and I'm in building 1. I would be scared that that development is not gonna be completed. So what right do I have, or where can I look that I know there's funds somewhere that me as an owner has some voice or an opinion on where that money's gonna be spent? And it's the homeowners association. So if we turn around and, if an applicant comes in front of us and they say, building 1 and all of the infrastructure that would be needed to complete building 1 is X amount of dollars. And if you have 8 units, to me, it would get divided up by 8 units.
Yeah, no, I see right what you're getting at. That
You know what I'm
makes
saying?
sense, yeah.
So now,
The
we're
homeowners would be taking it
putting the
upon
money
themselves
where
to
it
do it.
belongs.
Except,
And the legal part is the part that I think we can add into our regs, just like we say that you have a bond or you can do a tripartite agreement. I think we can do the same thing I think anytime a condo project is approved, I think it should be part of, we, the planning board, part of the approval should be that we get a copy of the condo association's agreement in documents.
but let's practically look at what really happens in the real world. The condo association is set up by the builder developer, who actually controls it until everything's sold, the place is basically running by itself. So if it goes
And
under.
there's usually a number, 70%, 80%, whatever it is.
So if the condo unit is association or whatever, if this project is not going to make it, and it's going under, you can be sure the developer is gonna hit that condo association money long before we have anything to do with it.
Well, again,
There's not gonna be
There's
any
two-
money left when he goes
no,
into
no,
bankruptcy.
because I spoke to Bristol County Savings Bank, and that passbook, you could be a trustee on an account, no different than if your son is, or your daughter has a disability, and you are that person. That can be a double signature on that account, or a triple, or whatever,
With the planning board chairman,
with somebody being appointed, and it doesn't get signed off until everybody signs. And I think that is going to take care of all the issues of how do we get the money when people go out of business. I just don't want to go through what we went through at Berry Hill. That was, to me, it was just foolish. And again, if it's a problem with banks lending money, and it's a problem with the town trying to spend our money to go after money that's on associations, but it just seems too many loopholes.
yeah. I mean, that works, I like the idea, maybe they can think of something else, but you can't have a joint signature, you and the developer, because then you need both signatures. If he doesn't sign it, we still don't get the money. So, I mean, there's probably
But
a
I'm
way.
saying there's a legal, whatever,
There's
I
probably
mean,
a
I'm
way
sure
around
that
it,
you can
but-
legally come up with a way for that passbook. And I would think that the wording, whatever the documents for the condo association says, because I know when I bought a condo, after 70% was sold, then they don't become controlling managers. It has to be voted in, who's gonna be the manager of that association after 70% of the condos were sold. So then everybody, every owner, all the owners become their voice. And they can tell that developer that we don't want you as our manager anymore, even though you're still building units. We want to hire an outside company to manage the property. But there's a number. A lot of them do 70, 80%. So I just think that there's got to be some way, in this way here now, if they turn around and say, okay, it's going to cost $150,000 to finish building one, divide that by 8, that's the number that they have to put up. And then he goes to Dennis, he can get a occupancy permit for that entire building. And now, Dennis doesn't have to issue a temporary, because if he issues a temporary, the bank's not going to fund it. The bank won't give money on a temporary.
You'd have to kind of come up with a bond amount, though, similar to how Schmidt does his estimates.
Exactly.
It'd be interesting to see, though, what Henry's saying is that association account, who's got access to it, you know?
Well, the trustees of the association is going to have access, and it's going to be the owners, whoever's doing the development. If you buy one piece, one condo, and there's 16 or 20 more condos, you don't have a right. Your rights are what's on paper and what the deed and that goes forward with that. You would probably, you know better than I do, when you're doing a mortgage for somebody that's in a condo. What portion? Have you had any condos that were under construction that people are buying into? How do they handle?
Well, I haven't been involved in any in the last couple of years.
Because
There haven't been any to be involved in, yeah.
Well, it'd be good to have a mechanism, so these, on stuff like Berry Hill and developments like that, they walk away that are joint owned. But I mean, on one hand, it's the risk that people are taking buying into it, but at the same time, you want to protect them.
Right, and I think, and that's true, it's the risk that you take, but.
It'd be nice to have a mechanism to.
Exactly,
to,
and I don't think this is gonna come up in the next, might not come up in the next 10 years, because we're coming out of that depressed time that people were going bankrupt. But in 15 years from now, this might still be on the books, because something's a little difficult to figure out, it doesn't mean we can't go after it. And if we keep things the way they are, then I go back to my statement I made at that meeting. Why bother asking for bond money? To keep their feet to the table? That's baloney.
I still don't remember saying anything to
That
Dennis.
means nothing. That means absolutely nothing to the town or those people that are paying taxes to the town of Raynham. We can say, we can sit here and say all day long, well, that's the risk that they take. When there was 30 people sitting in this room,
Oh, yeah.
each and every one of us said, geez, there's got to be something we can do for them. There's got to be something we can do.
highway department, I mean, we all feel bad, we all want to do something. I was even volunteering going to their trustee meetings to see if there's something that I could help as part of the town, but not speaking for the town. So, you know, when you're looking at it, you can say that there's, it's, you know, it's gonna be too complicated. I think there's a way of doing it, I think this is a great start.
Well, I mean, the way we did it obviously doesn't work, 'cause we're just
Well, that's what I'm saying, and.
I agree. This is a start.
It's a start.
But it's-
The
yeah.
funds, how it's gonna work, I think we have to, and again, I did have Maureen put it on, was gonna have it as a discussion to come up when a new town planner came in, because I felt that was something, let them work on. But it's in front of us now, and I think, you know, we don't have to do it tonight, but I think we have to discuss and try to come up with an idea.
I mean, John
Burke,
and
you
Frank,
do-
they're
you
around
do.
for this building, but they might not be around for the rest of them, you know?
And that's why I said, you know, no, I mean, we can't give final occupancy permits, because I drive in there, and what's protecting the person that lives there? And I don't want those people who are paying taxes to the town and they're getting nothing, and don't even have a road to be, you know, drive into, like Berry Hill. I don't want to go down that route, and I think there's a way for this board to put something in place that is fair, and it protects the people that need to be protected. The town does not need to be protected on a condo subdivision. To put on money, the name on that account, only as a watchdog to make sure things are done right, and that they come through the full process, so we can sign off, and then everybody can live comfortably, just like everybody else in the town.
You'd have to, like in this case, you get parts of the roads built, so you'd have to determine, you know, almost like a partial subdivision built and security for how much you want
Exactly.
security for, and
And you'll have to
come
go
up
to
with a number and
kitchen.
divide it by the
Exactly.
lot you're releasing.
But I don't know what we have gotten past where we had problems at Berry Hill. We had an insurance company that didn't want to pay. So are we going to require cash bonds so we don't have to deal with insurance companies?
That would be much
That's-
nicer if you could. you
Yeah,
know.
well, that's what we're gonna do.
And
The money is gonna be in the condo association's account, not a bond, cash.
But even if you did a cash with the, well, I don't know how that would work with the town, but if you did a cash with the town, you were co-signer, then that'd be your leverage, but you'd have to do it all cash.
Gatsby Gardens, I don't want to interrupt you, Gatsby Gardens, when that gentleman was in front of us and he was looking for a final sign-off from the board, and he needed his top coat, he needed his dumpster area completed, we said, no, we're not gonna give you a final sign-off. Even though it's a private development, we're not gonna how can we do that? People over there it might not get
Yeah.
completed. He said, this is what the engineer said it's gonna cost, 10 grand, and here's a check for $10,000. All in favor? Aye. It was that quick. That's all we asked for. Put up the money for what needs to be done.
Well,
And-
so this formerly Bella Estates, now Forge Estates, if this was clean from the beginning and hadn't involved a bankruptcy, et cetera, what would we have done? What do one of you guys think it would cost to do the roads and the utilities and so on in that place?
I don't
You know,
even,
I'm not
I don't even
sure,
want to
'cause I don't
guess.
even, we've never had one before.
But
you know, so-
even if it was, it doesn't matter what the cost is gonna be.
Well,
It's
but
no
if-
different than a subdivision.
If it's a pay-as-you-go like this is
But-
that solving
but-
the problem?
No, it is, because if they come in as 8 buildings,
You know?
I think if they're looking for release on all 8 buildings, then that's easy. What is it gonna cost to do the subdivision for all the infrastructure? And our engineer is gonna have a dollar amount. If 8 buildings times 8, you multiply that by the dollar amount. That money has to be cash in the account before they get their release.
So are we going to ask $500,000 or $750,000?
that's-
Just tell them, hey,
If that's what it takes, if they want all 8 buildings, 64 units released, that's what it's gonna take.
What
That-
if they just want one building?
Well, that's what I was saying, you'd have to figure out what portion of the infrastructure is relative to
To
that
that one
building.
building.
Has to be done.
Has to be,
And
the money,
maybe-
the dollar amount has to be apportioned.
So I think,
No, because West One building may require more infrastructure, than 1/8 of the whole project.
exactly,
Yeah, you'd have,
because if there's two entrances like over there,
You need to.
you're gonna have, that dollar amount is gonna include both entrances,
Right. Okay, so.
the landscaping for all of that, and the detention area or retention area for that eight units. And then you come up with a dollar amount. An engineer would come in front of us and say, okay, this is the dollar amount, divide that by 8. Once
we'd have
that,
to sit and show him, how much, or he'd have to give us his opinion
exactly.
on how much had to be.
So once we do that, I think, if I was the builder and I was going in there, the first building, I'm putting up a lot more money. But as soon as I get that first building done, and I want to pull permits for 2 more buildings, I'm going to come in front of the board and ask for a reduction on that building because this is completed. And I'm going to have, now, my first building might be, say $100,000. I'm going to reduce it to $30,000, and I'm going to put another $60,000 a building on the other 2 buildings. As long as the funds are there to complete, because it's always, per building, it's going to, I think that account is going to change. And you need it to change because nobody's going to have the money to come in and put up the money all at once. So, again, I think it's no different than asking, for the Farm J's. When somebody comes in for a plan, for a lot release, well, we want security. You're not going to get the lot release unless we have security.
Was there an issue here, Maureen, with did he get his occupancy?
He did get his occupancy, but there were some questions raised about going forward.
Yeah,
I had a sewer easement issue, but we'll take care of that.
So, I guess I'm going to leave it at that. I said enough about it.
I would definitely like to
Let's think
work
about
something
it.
out so we never have another Berry Hill.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be.
We have one more building to sign before we leave.
Let's think about it. It's something that I think, Maureen, can you put that back?
3,000.
It's the Aspen Hollow bond. I'll hold on to it till get it resolved.
Maureen, can you put that back on, put this on June 20th
You want this again?
and put it on for discussion?
Yep.
Because I don't want this to go away because
I mean, it'd be nice to see
if
an association.
we have to come up with a solution for this problem
Okay.
as a board, and I don't want it to keep going on. And I think it's our duty to figure it out. And with that said, anything else?
No, just need that back.
What's this subdivision balances thing?
Oh, that's Roger's concern. He talked to you about that, Chris. He said he wants to be able to use the funds for, first of all, Ford River Park, but that's already been,
Yeah, that's tabled.
but he's got the same concern up at Paddock, Ram's Head, and Bayberry. He
Yeah.
wants to crack seal. There's about 13,000 in their bond account, not an accepted road.
Which,
Was it taken over from
Oh.
It
town?
was taken over from town, 1125.
And we have funds in there?
It's about
neither
13,000, they've
one
been
of
there
them
for a
were-
lot of years.
Well, I would think that he would have to come up, get quotes, bids on it, and he would have to present it to the planning board, because I'm not just gonna release a $13,000 bond for him to go
Right.
buy a lawnmower or
I guess
something.
he wanted,
I second
so he
that.
can even go forward that
I
way.
just,
yeah, no,
So,
I agree.
you take care of that?
Have him get
But
bids,
that's,
go through the normal process?
None of those
Right.
roads were ever, had gone through town meeting.
No.
And that was the same,
Yeah,
one was that John, way back to John
but,
Connors.
yeah, and I think that's, it's like anything else, it's a two-issue thing. One, we have to maintain the roads, or else they're gonna be totally destroyed, and the funds are there. Maybe we can ask Mark Antine for his opinion on, should the
this too.
town go forward to have these accepted? So they are accepted town roads? I mean, if
Probably.
that's, again, I think that's our obligation to do that, that's what we do.
I mean, we could sponsor the article.
Right.
I mean, it's, the condition they're in is the condition they're in.
Yeah,
It's
this-
it's gonna be a town road.
Exactly. And now we can turn around when that 13,000, whatever's the money in the account, when it's depleted, it's depleted.
Is that bond
But I
that's
wanna see
already
that
called
road
and in
just to
our
that
ownership,
subdivision and
Maureen?
Not
Well,
something
it
around the
is.
corner.
But,
Because if you read his letter states he would like to use the money there and other places.
Yeah,
And I would say no, it's not going other places. That money's gonna be used to,
But do we have the money?
we do, but there was a question as to where the rest of it was gonna go when the work is done.
Oh.
It
Well-
was carried to a certain point and then it sat for years because nobody ever came.
We have it to do as we please, though.
That's not 100% clear.
That's what I'm wondering.
well, no, I don't think,
But
I think it is for that subdivision.
That's what I
And it
think.
has to be for that subdivision, it's not just do as you please. And I think when we do hire a new town engineer, how that, I would think would go forward is, that town engineer is now working for the town. Go out there and do an assessment on what was done, what's not done, or what needs to be, what would be the standard for that development when it was done.
I mean,
when
what
they
he
went
should do
bankrupt.
for now is take it out of his own funds and do the crack seal. It's not,
They have to the 14th.
it's kind of a town road in effect. I mean, it's,
Only
Something
request,
I would like
no,
to
haven't
put
gotten
in
bids,
the
no.
contract with a town engineer,
I know
certain
exactly.
number of hours
I,
to the town for free.
it'd be nice to have. I mean, that way, people stop calling me all the time.
just like, yeah, right, it's just, it becomes like a Serpent thing, we can call up Serpent and get 15 hours or whatever it is. And hey, that's
What are these?
that's
That's just something I was
part of
looking at.
the, should be part of the contract. Now, we advertised it,
We did.
14th.
We have to the 14th. I put a question in front of you. There was an email, somebody had a question on the electrical component, what they were required or not required.
We don't really usually have much call
No.
for an electrical.
No.
Everything's
I
above
mean, it
ground.
might
and if
arise
it's-
occasionally.
Right, if it's an underground system, then the
Yeah.
engineer draws it on the plan, says this, all your utilities are underground, and he gets a letter from TMLP, because they're the ones that have to
They design the
take
whole
it
thing.
over.
When I was doing the subdivision plans, I give them my CAD files, and the Craig Foley or whoever else was there, and they do all the design. Same in Bridgewater was N-Star, whoever it was, well, Eastern Utilities, but you give them your CAD files, they do all the design.
Well, I think maybe the right way of answering his question is if landscape design, electrical engineer, highway survey, whatever, if any of those areas come up in question through an approval process, if that engineer needs to hire a consultant for him, that consultant money will be covered in his engineering fees.
So they'd be like a
Yeah.
subcontractor.
Well, that's
They-
like
right, they-
Mitch sub out traffic guys
Exactly.
when Walmart was.
Exactly.
So I would just tell them that if the need arises, you're able to sub out.
Yeah, the funds, because I think that's probably where he's looking at, I don't have anybody in my office to do that.
Yeah.
How am I gonna handle it? So I think that's probably what he's looking for.
I think so.
Have you had many bites, or,
I've sent 13 RFPs out.
really?
Good.
Well, some of them are from all over the state though.
Oh, yeah, a lot of them just see it, what was it, in the
Actually, one was for the construction journal.
Beacon?
so,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, so you're gonna get a bunch.
Back to Roger though, on the bids, you're okay with him going out and gathering bids
Of course,
for the crack sealing?
why not?
And then, I'm just want to
Yeah,
make sure.
what
you-
else does he do? He's gonna go out, I would think that he would have to do it just like any other.
Would you want to approve it before he went and crack sealed, or you just?
Most definitely, because we have to approve the fund, we have to approve using that money.
Just checking,
Yeah,
okay.
anything he wants to do, he'd have to present it to us with bids, so we know exactly
And
what's
we're
going
only gonna release that amount, we're not releasing
Right,
the whole
right.
amount for him to go use it somewhere else, or.
Yep.
We're caretakers of that money because it was part of the approval process, and I just wanna make sure that if we need a catch basin over there because it was never done, then that money's gonna go to put that catch basin in. Because that's for, again, those people that live there. It's not for, anybody else in the town.
Now we can adjourn.
With that said, anything else? Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, sir.
All right, I gotta go home and take a pill.